on Bowsher Road right now. All of my ancestors lived on this road for years. And I was told a story here that's one of my favorites. The person that brought me here was Ralph Bowsher. He brought me with another individual that was also related to the Bowshers. Here's the story he told. He was in World War II. He was on a demolition team. They went into a German town and they were supposed to blow a bridge. He was the youngest guy. There were 5 men in the team. He was just the youngest guy, and he was a gunman, which means he only carried a rifle. The other men were demolition experts. How to run the wire, how to place the dynamite, how to blow the bridge. So he said he wasn't really listening. He only there as a rifle. That day in Germany, what happened was they got on a bridge similar to this. And suddenly they were laying the charges. They had already laid them along the side of the bridge in Germany. They had run the wire back and they had the plunger and they pulled up the handle. Suddenly a Messerschmitt came down, a German plane, and it opened up on them. It started shooting approximately, he said he went to the edge and he went against the girder, the gunman that told me the story, and he laid against the girder. And he said when he looked up, he said all the men had been killed, ironically. Every man, the last man that was going to push the plunger was gurgling blood and laying on his back. And he died right in front of him. Now he realizes he's the only man left alive. So he looks down and suddenly he sees 2 German soldiers that come over a bank and they're standing on the other side and they're shooting at him. And here's what the man told me. And he acted this out right in the very place I'm telling the story on this. And there's going to be a reason for telling it at this bridge. He said he turned to the bridge and he laid his eyes down because he realized how close those Germans were shooting at him. He was going to die. And he told me right here at this place, it was his last moment on earth. And he turned here, and the story of this, the name of the story is Rivets. He stared at these rivets and he said, here was his thought. This was the last thing he was ever going to see on earth, was these rivets on this bridge, on that German bridge. And as he laid his head down on it, he said, suddenly everything went in slow motion. He no longer heard gun firing. He heard children laughing. And when he raised his head up, he was in his mind at this very bridge we're at now on Bowsher Road. He was a child again of 11 years old, and he was laying against here resting while the other kids were swimming in the creek right down here. He said everything was surreal. He looked around, everything was in color. He saw everything. He saw the children swimming. He saw himself there, and for a minute, he was back in his own childhood. And then when he raised his head up a little more and he looked over at the side of the road, the Germans reappeared and they started shooting again. He was back in real time. He said what he did was when he saw the Germans reloading and coming down in the ditch to come closer to finish him off, thinking they had wounded him, he said he pulled the plunger over here farther and he pushed the plunger. There was a delayed reaction, and the 2 men had gotten on the bridge, the Germans with their rifles, and the whole bridge exploded into pieces. Here's the end of the story. The pieces went in the air. He said he ran, he joined another unit, he went through the war, he came home, he came down the road right down here and lived on Bowsher Road the rest of his life. He has never told the story till he came back here in 1971 and retold the story. Here's what I asked him right here on the point I'm at. I said, he's leaning against the thing, and I said, did you ever think about going back and seeing that bridge where this happened, going back to Germany and seeing where they probably rebuilt a bridge where that unbelievable moment happened? And here's what he said to me. No, Jim. And he had fear in his eyes. I never want to go back there. I never want to see that, because I'm going to tell you something that I believe is the truth. I never survived that day. Those men killed me on that bridge that day. If I go back and I go to that German bridge, I will see myself laying there and I had died. And the reason is because he said, Jim, everything that I'm telling you, including you listening to the story right now in this place, including Eric filming this thing, is all a death dream drama. It isn't real. It's only the dream of a man who died, the same way the dream of me playing here as a child. That's the story of Rivets.